That's it. Okay, you're right. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Parsha Pinchas has an anomaly written in the Sefer Torah that we're all well aware of. Hineni no saying lo as brisi shalom. Rabbi Shalom told Moshe, I am granting to Pinchas my covenant of peace, shalom. The letter of the Vav in shalom is split. It's a Vav Ketia. And it's supposed to be that way. One of the stories that I didn't mention in my book of stories is that I knew a case of a rabbi that was at that time not well versed in these things. And he took out 3 Sifrei Torah, one after the other, because he thought they were puzzle, because the Vav was split. The 3rd Sefer Torah, he figured out that something must be going on. So there are many pshatim on why the Vav is split. And the simple pshat is because of the fact that Pinchas achieved the shalom by killing somebody. That's not the optimal way of achieving shalom. So therefore the Vav is k'tiyah, the shalom is imperfect, so to speak. But this brings us to a topic that we should be able to deal with, that is not dealt with, unfortunately. And that is, in the Torah we find different spellings of the same word. Sometimes the word is spelled chaser, it's missing a letter. And sometimes it is spelled with a hosafah, with an extra letter. Does that have any significance? So for people who are not aware as to the exactitude of Torah, and that Torah is not scribal error, so to speak. It's not that somebody made a mistake. So there is a constant search to understand why certain things are spelled chaser without a full letter, and certain things are spelled, certain words are spelled malay with an extra letter. And the Netziv of Volozhin, of Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, in his famous Perish to Chumash, the Hamek Dover, which is really one of the classical Perushim of the last few hundred years, the Chumash, and Rabbi Cooperman has done a great service in republishing it now with references and corrections and explanations, etc. It's a work of great genius. So he established a rule. He says there's a rule here. The Torah is not at random. It's not here that they forgot a letter and here they put an extra letter in. There's a meaning to it. And that's part of the Torah Shabbat Peh. That's how Chazal looked at the words of the Torah. They didn't see the word, they saw everything, every nuance that was possible from the word. That's the difference between the modern biblical scholarly, etc., that is unfortunately so rampant today, is because of the fact that they simply don't get it. They don't understand what they're talking about. So two examples that will help us understand the Vav Ketiyah. One example is Chaser, that we find by Eliezer Eved Avraham. Eliezer said to Avraham, Ulai lo sover isha lalechas acharoi. Ulai should be spelled Aleph Vav Lamed Yud. But it's spelled without the Vav. It's spelled Choser. Rashi says immediately, Elai Ksiv. It's written Choser. So there's a famous pshat from the Gaon of Vilna, which I won't go into now, on this Rashi. But the Netziv says, whenever a word in Hebrew is spelled Choser, it comes to weaken the word. Eliezer said, Ulai without a Vav, because he said it's unlikely that she won't go with me. There's a possibility. But the odds are that she will go with me. And therefore he took all of the jewelry and all of the camels and the donkeys and everything because he felt confident that she would go with him. So the ulai, the maybe, the suffix that Rivka wouldn't go with him was weak. The odds of its happening were not strong. And therefore, that's why it is spelled Choser. And he has numerous examples of this throughout Tanakh. That wherever a word is spelled Choser, it weakens the word. On the other hand, whenever a word has an extra letter that really doesn't belong, it comes to strengthen the word. So, for instance, Avraham Avinu, it says Lech Lecha. So Lecha is Lamed Chof. That's how you're supposed to spell it. By Bilam, it says Lecha Imohem. Lamed Chof Hey. Go with them. That's what Bullock said. So he said to Bilam, Lecha, go with them no matter what. He's strengthening the Lecha. So go with them even if God tells you no, you go anyway. Even if the donkey talks to you, you go anyway. So wherever it is added, a hey at the end of the word, an aleph in the middle of the word, that's not misspelled. That comes to strengthen the word. And that's the din of how to look at the Hosafah, the extra letter in the Torah. So the Netziv established this rule, that whenever it's Choser, it comes to weaken the word, and wherever it is Hosafah, it comes to strengthen the word. And if you pay attention, as I'm sure you will, to how the Torah is written, to the words themselves, you'll see in many instances how that works. We have a word, Hala Hashem Tigmosos in Avzinu. One letter word, the only word in the Torah that's one letter. So that's really Choser. Because it's weak. How could it be that you shouldn't have faith in God, Moshe said. After everything that we went through, and you don't have faith in God, how can that be? So it weakens it, because it's Choser. So now we come back to the Vav Ketiyah. Even he knows saying lo is brisi shalom. So the Torah could have written shalom without the Vav. We have that in many places. Vayibasuka Shalem. Yerushalayim is spelled without the extra words, without the extra letters. On the other hand, they didn't want to write it Chaser, because if they wrote it Chaser, it would mean it's a weak Shalom. It's not a real Shalom. And their Rebbeinu Shalom intended that it should be. He knows saying, Lord, it's Brisi Shalom. I'm giving him such a reward for what he did. Bekana was Kinosi Mal B'nai Yisrael. Eisir es Chamosi. So the Torah, so to speak, waffled. It gave us a Vov K'tiyah. It's not Choser, but it's not really Moleh either. There's a degree of diminution involved. Where do we see the diminution involved? So the Gemara says you see it later when Pinchas is the Kohen Gadol and Yiftach is the Shofet, and Yiftach has this foolish neder that Kol Hayotze Midalsas Beisei. Anyone that comes out, I'm going to sacrifice, and his daughter comes out and he sacrifices her. So the Gemara says, why did they, why would they matir neder? Get a hold of a rabbi, 3 people, and be matir neder.
But it's not the neder.
So he wanted, it is a neder, it says, Vayidu Yiftach neder.
You can make a neder that's against the Torah.
But to him, it was an neder. Why did he do something? So they say simply, the Gemara, he wanted Pinchas to come to him because he was the Shofet. And Pinchas wanted that Yiftach should come to him because he was the Kohen Gadol. He's the opposition and he's the coalition. And because of that, people die. So that's the Shalom, the Vav K'tiyah, because it's imperfect. It's not exactly what it should be. So we see from there, our Chazal were medayik on every letter in the Torah. Every letter has a significance and a lesson for us. And that's a great limud how we should look at Torah and how we should try and understand it. Everything that lies within it. Be well, everyone. Chananya ben Akash, Yomer, Rotsa, Kadosh Baruch Hu, V'zakos, Yisrael, Africha, Chevul, Lahem, Torah, Mitzvot, Shenem, L'Adonai, Chadrei, Tzman, Tzidkol, Yagdil, Torah, Yadir.
So precious.
Ellie, do you know how to get out of this?
Get out of it. Get out of it. Sorry. There should be simply an end.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go hit it over. You know what he says? Just do that. He says if you close it, it'll end anyway.
Okay.